Welcome to Bookwood. Hi, I'm glad you chose to spend some time with me. And before we dive into today's topic, the books I've read for the Tarot Books Challenge, I would like to tell you a little bit more about this readathon. It is organized by Aurélie from the French YouTube channel La Livromancienne. In this challenge, we use the tarot cards that Aurélie illustrated to pick out the prompts. This reading runs April through May, and participants can opt for readings with different amount of cards. I picked a 5-card reading. This means I'll draw 4 prompt cards, and the last one will depend on the symbols at the bottom of my cards. There are 3 different cards that can be your ending card, and there are also 3 joker cards that can be used to change prompts or box. If you speak French and would like to participate, I will put a link to Aurélie's announcement videos and her channel in the description box. I think this readathon is very original with the card drawing prompt system, and I also like the fact that the prompts are very vague and wide. Each one of the prompts is linked to the meaning of the card. I think it would be a good time to also look at the prompts and the books I chose for them. So let's get out the cards. The first one that I had. So I did switch out one more card from the cards I draw in the previous clip, because we had the Wheel of Fortune, which is a joker and which doesn't really hold a prompt. So I didn't realize that when I was picking the cards, and so I have swapped it out. The first card I picked was the Empress, or in French, l'Impératrice. For this, the prompt is books that have to do with maternity, independence, kingdoms reigned by women, female rage, and urban fantasy. It was one of the prompts I had the hardest time to find a book for, and I ended up choosing Allunia by Tiphs. This is a book that I have on audio. It's a duology. It's the first one in this duology, and it's an urban fantasy, and it was the closest I could get. So in this book, we will meet a girl, and there I go again with names, right? There is this girl that we will be following, and she expected a lot of things, but not to die by a lightning stroke. And she wonders about being dead, because it seems she's alive, but in a complete other world. And we will be going along to discover what this world is and how to survive in it. I must admit that books that are on my want to read list, I tend to only remember like the very core of it, or even sometimes I'm like, okay, I put this book on my list, why? And I cannot tell you much when I make my TBR. The second card that I drew is La Force, or Strength, I think in English. And for this prompt, I have chosen the Turncoat Gambit by Andrea Cremer. And the prompts that I have for this card are courage, resilience, perseverance, animal, and ferocity. I think these are quite difficult prompts or a quite difficult definition for a book. And I picked this last book because in this book we are following Charlotte. And Charlotte is a child of the resistance. This is taking place in the United States in an alternative version of history in which the Succession War, I think, didn't end the way it ended in our reality. And there is still resistance going on that is trying to change things. And the children who are born in this resistance are raised away from their parents for their safety. Once they are like 4 or 5 years old, they go live in a cave system in which the older children take care of them. And Charlotte is now 16 and she is taking her place as one of the leaders of this group of children. In the first book, she will meet a very strange boy and she will travel to the city to learn more about this boy, and also she will be accompanying her brother, who is going to meet another group of resistance, and to see if they can work together. In the second book, she travels to another city. And during these travels and after arriving, she will learn more about how the resistance is organized, works, what its plans are, and she will learn more about her parents. At the end of the book, she will highly dislike this resistance, and she will take off and basically become a traitress to both the government and this resistance. So I think this asked a lot of courage from her, and I think she will have a need of much courage for this last volume. So I think that this book could fit for this prompt. The next card that I drew was Justice. For this one, I will be reading Les Murmures des Oubliées by Fatima Mezian, and I know absolutely nothing about this book, except that it is a mystery thriller written by the lady who holds the YouTube channel Boukasin, in which she tells true crime stories. And I love how she narrates those, so I decided that I would give her book a try. The prompt for the Justice card is justice, investigations, crime, truth, and vengeance. So I think that with this investigation, this thriller, it is I know it is someone investigating events, so this goes for this prompt. The next card that I have drawn is Le Chariot, the wagon, maybe in English. And this is the card for which I will be reading Shine As Long As You Live by Alice Quinn. This will be an audiobook. And the prompt for this card is victory, promotion, quest, voyage, which is like a trip, a vacation. There is race and being on vacation. So voyage, which would be more in the sense of going from one place to another. Shine As Long As You Live is a story about a lady who knows that she has a cancer that she will not recover from. She knows that she will be dying, and she has decided that she will have hold on when that is going to happen. And at the point when she comes at her birthday, and she has decided that this is the farthest that she will go. But before she can execute her plans, she gets a call from her son that she doesn't see or speak to very often. And he asks her to come over at his house and spend a few days, because he got the news that the renovations that he wanted to do, that this person who's doing this is coming now, and he has a trip planned with his wife and child. I think it's a daughter. And so our main character travels, that's the word, travels to her son's house, and being in this house, she starts to connect and develop feelings for the person who is coming to do these renovations. So I think this book could fit this prompt, since she travels somewhere. She's staying out of her house, which could be a vacation. She is having a race against time to develop this relationship, because at the end she knows that her days are counted. But it is also, for me, a victory of love, because if she wanted to put an end to her illness and now she doesn't, this means that there was a small victory, and also a maybe emotional or spiritual travel going from one point to another for her. And so I decided that I would listen to that book. So as I explained before, every one of these cards hold a little sign down at the downside of the card, and they give you the card or the final prompt of your reading. And so the Empress holds a sun, the Lion, the Strength holds a sun, Justice holds a sun, the Chariot also has a sun. Justice has a star and Chariot has a sun. So this means that out of the 4 cards, we have 3 with a sun symbol. So this means that my final card will be the sun, the arcane that my vote goes to in this dispute of the throne, will be the card of the sun. And the card of the sun leads me to the book 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Colley, because the prompts for the sun are a grumpy versus sunshine trope, a celebration, joy, a personal win on something, and light. I really struggled with these prompts, but I ended up googling a list of romance books with a grumpy versus sunshine trope, and 1,000 Boy Kisses was on this list. It's a good read list, and it happened also to be on my want to read list, so I picked this book. As you have just heard, I did struggle a whole lot to fill in these prompts. At the beginning I thought, well, this is easy because there are so many different options for each card, and I must say that last year I didn't find this as difficult as this year. It was challenging, and it's something I like. I have been able to put for every pound a book from the list of books I would like to read, so that's an extra win for me. Now let's hope that I like the reads I have chosen. And since we're looking in the time, let's spend the day together so you can see how life goes with 5 kids and much reading. It is 5:20 a.m. and my day starts. into the books I have read for the Tarot Book Challenge. Normally I would give you my opinion when I start it, when I finish it, and sometimes in between somewhere. Unfortunately, with the school break going on, that was not that easy for this vlog. So I will just give you a wider review of the books that I have read, now that I have all read them already. For this first card, L'Impératrice or the Empress, I set out to read Allunia by Tiphs. This is a urban fantasy for young adults. It's a book that has not been translated to English, and I listened to it. We will meet Leah, and Leah is in her early 20s. She is studying, she is working at the same time, since she has decided to live on her own and to pay for her own studies. And she has a passion for photography. And the evening we meet her, she's off to make pictures of a thunderstorm. She is hit by lightning, and we will follow her consciousness going through acknowledging what is happening and realizing that now she's dead, but she doesn't feel dead at all. And she will discover that she has arrived in somehow another world, another country, which is called Allunia. And she will be quite disoriented by this, and she will be picked up by a member of what turns out to be a rebellion. We will follow her along, discovering what is going on in this world, who she is, and she's also trying to find out how she get there, if she can get back to her own world. And she is making friends with these quite young people that she meets in this rebellion. So in this world that is dominated by what is freely translated as the Great Oracle, people are mostly being allegiant to this emperor and this Great Oracle, because the last one has an influence on their minds. Some of the people in this world somehow escape on this, and once they notice what is going on, sometimes they wake up out of this submission. They tend to join the rebellion, and the rebellion is trying to put a halt to the actions of this great oracle that has so much influence on the emperor that we can state that he's also the emperor of this country. At the end of the book, I still don't know what exactly is the thing with these souls, but people can decide to go swim in a magical lake, and when they come out, they hold an orb that is their soul, and it can be put in a protected place, and this will allow them to never fall in the influence of this oracle. And this is what Leah does, and she will join this rebellion. She will she basically has no other choice than to do so, or at that point that's what she thinks. As we go on, we will learn that this rebellion helps also people to escape to other countries in this world where this kind of regime is not going on. But somehow Leah didn't got the choice offered, because like in many YA books, she has something special, and she will have a role to play in whatever is happening. In this first part of this duology, we will follow her discoveries, we will follow her training, because of course we don't fight with guns and bombs. The rebellion uses swords and some kind of older techniques that she needs to master. and we will see how she goes on her first mission and then on a way bigger one. And it is in this way bigger one that she will discover that she is quite special. She has powers that nobody told her about, and it seems that some people knew about them. She seems to have this very close connection with the leader of this rebellion. They are soulmates, something that everybody seems to know, but she does not. And we will also slowly discover the point of view of the Emperor's little sister, who is basically a prisoner in her own house. She is slowly discovering that what she learned about her parents and her parents, that is not true. She really doesn't like what this big great oracle has as an influence on her son, and by she will discover that there are a lot of people that are trying to change things, that they often pay a high price for that. She is being gifted her mother's memories and diaries for her birthday by one of them before he flees. And she will, by the end of this volume, take the decision that she cannot stay there, that for her own good and her own safety, she needs to find the rebellion. I had a hard time starting this book until like the 5th hour or something. I was hesitating to the end of this book. I was very confused about the things that are going on. We don't get a lot of information about this world, about the magic or the spiritual things that are going on in this world. We don't really know anything, and to me that was quite frustrating. I wanted to know more quicker. I wanted Leah to discover these things more and quicker, but then after a while I think it was the right thing that it was this way. So I decided to hang in there because my husband liked this book very much, because it is loved by some French YouTubers, and I'm very glad I did hang in there, because by the end I was really intrigued, and I am hoping to be able to listen to the second book quite soon. That will not be in June, that's for sure. Maybe I will be trying to get my hands on the library copies, physical copies of these books, since in the afterword by the author she explains how much she enjoyed illustrating the titles of the chapters. For the second card I drew, that is La Force of the Strength, I picked out the Turncoat's Gambit, which is a third book in the Inventor's Secret by Andrea Cremer. It's the only one that I read in a physical form. So in this book we pick up with Charlotte when she decided to leave the rebellion with Grave, and we leave off and we will follow how Charlotte and her friends set off to find a place where they can hide out. And for some seconds I thought, well, this is it. They are in this safe place and they are building up life and everything is great. But no, that quickly changes when they are being caught up by the Empire. So this is when she realizes very much that there is a traitor, and that she starts to understand who this traitor is. It turned around a whole lot in finding this traitor, and I thought that bit was a bit long, teachy. It was maybe longer than it should be. It was a lot of turning around in circles with not much extra information or not really things that happen. This is to me the down point of this book. So when she's picked up by the Empire, she is brought to a very famous prison, very harsh prison, and she thinks like, now my life is over, but she will of course get out. I think that from there many of the things that happened felt a little bit illogical to me, a little bit everything goes too well, she has too much luck, but then that's maybe because it's YA, we need a heroine. And so she will get out, she will find her way back to the rebellion, to people who believe her. They will get hands on the traitor. We will also see how this rebellion doesn't trust her that much anymore and sends her on a mission that she's basically not supposed to come back from. But of course, she will come back from this mission. She will learn, after interrogating the traitor, that much of the information the rebellion has is wrong, and that they are about to be attacked in New Orleans, and that they probably will be wiped out, or at least be brought to their knees. So she will take this information back. We will see the defense of La Nouvelle-Orléans, which is, I think, one of the best parts of this book, honestly. And then we will learn about the alliance with the French, and that the French has not been completely honest about the arsenal they have. They have way more than they said, and they plan to attack the Empire in their floor in New York. This is when Charlotte will have to go fulfill her mission in this city. She will use this to get back Grave, because he still is a victim of the Empire. Of course, this will all go very well. I think that this part is the one I would like to see developed more, so we see how the mission works out, how they make it out of the city that is under attack. And then basically we skip in time a few weeks later, when everything is behind us, the Empire has been defeated, and we will see how the characters will choose to spend the rest of their lives. The book is not bad. I did enjoy reading it. I did think that it was a nice closure to the rest of the story. I expected a little bit more action, maybe a little bit less luck, but it was still a very nice read. For La Justice, or the Justice card, I chose to read Le Murmure des oubliées by Fatima Mezian. This is a book that has not been translated to English. It is a book that just came out at the beginning of 2025. So it was a very nice surprise. So I told you, I think, that I decided to read this book because it is written by the lady that hosts the YouTube channel Boukasin, which is a French true crime YouTube channel that I enjoy very much listening to. She writes as she tells the stories on her channel, and even if it is not flowery prose like I like it to be, what I enjoyed really was the fact that it was just written like if it was told, and I could almost hear her voice in my head telling this story to me more than that I was reading it, and I thought this was a very nice experience. We will have a prologue that is some years prior to the rest of the story, in which we will follow a woman that discovers at her bus stop a backpack, and that realizes that a girl from the building she is living in has been kidnapped. We will see how the police comes to do their work, the consultations, the investigation, and we will also know how this missing lady has been found 3 days later. But we'll never find out what really happens to her, and certainly there will never be even a suspect. We jump in time to nowadays, and we will meet Feriel. I hope I pronounced this name correctly. So this is the point I want to tell you, that this book is written by someone, I think she's Algerian, she lives in France, and this book is written like if we know the Muslim culture and the Muslim day-to-day life. And I think that was great. It is a culture I know nobody in and I know nothing about. And it was very interesting to be in their day-to-day life and see how they approach certain aspects of life. And it was done in a way that you do not really realize it is not filled with religion or with allusions to those things. So at some points I had to remind myself of, oh yes, this is not how in European culture we would address this, but then, hey, this is not seeing out of our standpoint. And this was something I found was very interesting. I'm very interested in learning about other cultures and other habits and ways of seeing life. So I enjoyed reading that. There were also mingled in some words in, I think it's Arabic, and they were translated and explained, so that was very fun too. So we meet Feriel, and Feriel is pregnant with her third child. We will, in the first part, get to know her. So she is, I have trouble remembering if it was third or first person. So good that I was into this, brought into this story. And she is feeling very uncertain. We will learn how she grew up in another city in France, how she met her husband, how she left her family behind in this city, how she left her friends behind in the city when she married and moved to the city where her husband came from, also in France, so we are not switching countries. And she now feels lonely because she is there, and her husband, with who she was very close, seems to be always at work or always at his mother's place where he helps out since his father died a few months ago. And she starts to doubt on his love for her. She's afraid that he might have a mistress, and one day she will see him stare at the picture in his wallet, and she will find an opportunity to have a look at this picture. She will photograph it with her phone. Chichi, vraiment! One night she will see her husband stare at the picture of a young girl or young lady that he's in his wallet, and she will find a moment to have a look at it herself. She will photograph it, and from there she will try to find out who this girl is, who his mistress is. We will follow her along this whole investigation. We will see her doubts. We will see when she takes back a little bit confidence, but it will end with an emotional outburst on which she confronts her husband about this, because her investigation will lead her to believe that her husband has killed this girl. Then she will learn from him a whole other part of the story. He has found the same evidence she did and put it back in place when his father died, and he found out that his father is the one who murdered this girl. And he has been very burdened with this knowledge, since he doesn't want his older and sick mother to find out and to have to live with the way the society will look at her and maybe even turn her its back at her. And he doesn't know what to do, because he feels that the right thing would be to bring this knowledge to the world so that this case can be solved. We never know what happens with this information, since this will be a duology at least, and there will be a second book coming out. We will still get a very little snippet of the mother-in-law of Feriel, who is aware or has a big suspicion on her husband. And she also doesn't come forward, plays innocent, not knowing things, because she says, like, my husband is dead now, what he has done can never be made undone, but then also telling this to the world will also not make that my husband gets punished for what he did. But then this might affect my sons, this might affect my grandchildren, and I don't want them to be cast out of society, ignored, put aside. So she also keeps quiet. I enjoyed reading this story, I enjoyed the investigation of it, and I am definitely going to read the next book. If you read in French, then your story is a little bit spoiled, but I think if you can get past that, it is interesting to go read it anyways, because the investigation and all the little details in it are for certain worth it. The cart, le chariot, or the wagon, I chose to read Brie tant que tu vis. I told you that I wasn't really certain in how big of a vacation or a trip this book might hold, but that I would count it anyway because it's the only one that I could find in my list at that time, and that the lady we will be following would go for a few days to her son's house. So I am happy to announce you that she went all the way from the Isle of Jersey to an unnamed little French island, and that she did quite a journey to get there, and that she also did some sightseeing, so she did really have a vacation or a trip. And we will meet Anita, and Anita is an elder lady. We don't really know her age. I think that she must be somewhere around 50, 55, something like that. And we meet her the day of her birthday when she's preparing for a very special celebration. she has a rendezvous with death. Recently she learned that she has cancer. We don't know more about that. We don't really know if it is uncurable or curable. We don't know which type it is. We just know she's ill. And he's suffering from a depressive episode. Due to that, she has lost her joy in life. She has lost her appetite. She explains that through her we get to know that she has given up on all the things that brought her joy. One of those is being part of a poetry club around mostly haikus. And she has been shutting herself off from all her friends. We will also learn that she has a son that is called Nicolas, that she is divorced, and that her son has moved to a French island quite far away, that he is married and that he has a daughter, but that they don't speak often. He doesn't call her and she doesn't call him because she's afraid to interrupt in his life. But that day, right at the perfect timing, her son calls her and he asks her to come over to his house for a few days, so he doesn't have to cancel or have to give up on a trip he planned with his wife and their daughter to Disneyland in Paris. They cannot really cancel it, and his wife has threatened with divorce if they don't go, since they have been so very busy and they didn't have a lot of time to spend together. But a few months ago they asked a craftsman to come do a renovation of their daughter's bedroom, and it happens that this man, René, just called in to tell them that they will come this weekend. And so Nicolas wants Anita to come to their place, stay over, and to have an eye on the advancement of the renovations. So Anita stops her plans, plays around in her head with, will I or will I not go help out my son? But of course she goes to help him out. During the way she will encounter a man that she dislikes, that she thinks is married and has 2 little children due to the events. And how big is her surprise when it turns out that this man, this very unsympathetic man to her, is the person, is René, that is coming to do the renovations. And very quickly she will find herself feeling a little bit interested in him, attracted to him, and of course she will try to ignore these feelings. We will also have René's point of view. He is in the start of his 40s, he's not married and he doesn't have twins. The lady that Anita sees for his wife is his sister, and the twins are her children. And since he is alone, he came back from a long stay in Japan where he lived basically. After that his wife died. And we meet him right now around his birthday, when the memories of his wife or his late wife come up again, and he is quite unhappy with the surprise party his sister throws for him every year, and so he's a little bit grumpy. It's also why he's working this festive weekend of the 14th of July, which is French national holiday. And when he meets Anita, he has no recalling of really meeting her during the trip to the islands. He feels attracted to her as well, and he decided to try to have some vacation romance with her. But very quickly to him it becomes clear that she might be the lady with who he wants to spend the rest of his life. And so we will see the classical romance game of follow me and I run away and chase me, of him trying to get through to her and she doing everything to avoid him. At some point, and we will slowly see how Anita's mindset is changing. She discovers that she has appetite again. She feels like doing some sightseeing on the island, and she feels herself coming alive. And when she's reading something, she comes upon this phrase, shine as long as you live. And she decides that for these few days that her life has left, because when she goes home, she will go to her rendezvous with death. She will make the best of it. I picked this one because I had already added to my Audible Would Like to Read list. It's included in my membership. And I was attracted to this book because of this theme of this lady that wants to give up on life and that comes back to life. I didn't expect the romance to be so a big part of the book, but I did enjoy it since it was a very realistic one, and I really thought this was very well done. I recommend this book. I recommend you look into the trigger warnings first. The last card of this tarot reading that I've got was the Sun. Maybe it was the one I didn't want to get. It is basically read a sunshine versus grumpy romance. Yep. And romances are not my thing, right? So I did find one in my list of books I would like to read, and that is 1,000 Boy Kisses, or 1000 baisers pour un garçon by Tilly Cole. So I asked it from the library, but unfortunately it did not come in time. And so I had to go look for another book. So I picked up my Kindle, went through the included books, and ended up with a book called Stuck Up Suit. And I will put the authors somewhere here. It's a duo of authors. And in this book, we will start by meeting Soraya. And Soraya is the not so rich girl living in an apartment, having a job that sometimes is crappy and sometimes is fun as the assistant of a lady that writes advice columns. And one day in the train, Soraya's eye is caught by this very handsome guy in a suit that looks very rich, that looks very out of place, and she likes watching him. And when he leaves the train, a station before hers, she realizes he drops his phone. So she picks it up, managed to unlock it. She will hold on for it for like 2-3 days. She will manage to unlock it, she will go through his photos, and she will be very surprised. There are not that many, and those who are there are of him with an elderly lady. There is this cute little Westie dog, and so she's quite intrigued by this man. She will try to find out who he is. She will call like 1 or 2 persons, or contact 1 or 2 persons in his contacts list. She will toy a little bit around that, and when she finds out who he is, she takes half a day off to bring him his phone at his office. Graham is, of course, a very tortured, a very grumpy, and a very rich man on top of some kind of business empire. And when Soraya comes to his office unannounced, he doesn't even want to see her. He talks to her through the door. He's very grumpy and she's angry. So before leaving his phone to his secretary, she snaps a picture of her cleavage, of her bottom and of her legs, sending it to him with a nice sarcastic message. And it is through messaging and letters or emails to the advice column on which Soraya responds. She is responsible for picking out the ones that go to her boss, and she also sometimes replies to these messages, and so she replies in private to the messages sent by Graham. That their relationship will develop, we will learn a lot about them, and they will of course start to date, meet up, and Graham's life has not been as happy as you could imagine. There is a way why he's always working and thus developing his company so much that he has a very comfortable life. You will also find out that a big drama has very much colored his time lately, and he will discover now 4 years later that he has a child that his ex-fiancée didn't tell him about. And when this news gets to Soraya, she doesn't really know how she has to react. She wants Graham and this little girl to be able to connect in a peaceful way. She doesn't feel that she fits in this image that will be caused by her own traumatic events in her childhood. And this will set in motion that she does everything to end their relationship. And of course, Graham will find out that the way she tries to break up with him is only faked. And he will do everything to go and get her back. And in the end, we have a nice and happy little family. I picked this book because it was described as very funny. And it was. I really much enjoyed reading this book. I'm still not enjoying romance books though, but what I enjoyed about this book was the banter, was the funniness. And it was also again the theme of how do you find your place in a recomposed familial setting. Maybe it's because I'm divorced, maybe it's because I had 2 children that I brought with me in my new relationship. I cannot rely to being the one who has to find her place between a parent and their child, because my husband hadn't children, but I can see how he reacted to that and how we had a lot of conversation about that. How he found his place and how the children found his place and how our family grew. And that was an aspect of this book that really spoke to me. I also really much liked the mindset of Soraya. I loved her very sparkling personality. And so I did enjoy this read way more than I expect I would. So thank you, Kindle, for this discovery. I think that if in future I need a romance, I will be looking into books by this duo of authors, together or apart, because I noticed they have written books each on their side as well, because I enjoyed the writing style for these books. So these were the 5 books that I have read for the Tarot Book Challenge, a challenge that maybe to you was unknown. I hope that you still enjoyed this video though. I am wondering what reading challenge or what readathon you are reading for during the month of May. Are you doing just one or multiple? I will be glad to read about those in the comments, so I can maybe discover other challenges and readathons to take part in next year. And I also would like to know, did you read any of these books? What were your thoughts of them? Or don't hesitate to ask questions about the books I've read if they are interesting to you.